community meetings up this week so that we could listen to our members. And we got a very short presentation for you. It should take about 10 minutes, although we've noticed that we sometimes do this presentation, people have questions and it goes a little bit longer. But the real purpose here is to hear from you and hear about your issues, your concerns, and your thoughts, and take them back as we go forward with the decision-making process. Golden Valley 2 years ago set out on putting in a new set of metering systems for our 46,000 and some electric meters. We picked in a meter that was made by Aclara. Aclara used to be a GE company, but it was brought up by Aclara, and they're called an AMI meter, part of an automated meter infrastructure system. It's kind of the whole system. The project here was shepherded by Keith Palkachoff right here. Dan Bishop worked with him as well. A lot of work has gone into it, considering what type of meter we should do. And as we know, we've heard from a number of members as we've gone about putting in these 46,000 meters that there's some issues, and people are concerned about new meters and what they might do. And so we're here to hear from you tonight and see what you think as we decide what to do. Initially, what we did is we told members that you could defer the decision on taking a new meter. We knew there'd be some folks that were not terribly excited about getting this new meter. We want to be respectful of that. I want to take ownership of the issue that we call it deferred. Some people heard opt out. We said what we're going to do is we're going to go to folks. If anyone says I don't want that meter, rather than fight with them, we're going to say okay, we'll come back to you. We're going to defer. Some people heard opt out, and I get that, and I think we maybe failed to make that very clear that we're going to go for it, make a decision. So part of the decision-making process, which we done by your board of directors, that you get to elect each year. We've got 7 different districts, and you get to vote for a board member in your district. And we actually have 2 board members here tonight. Tom DeLong, District 1, I would say. District 2, all right. And Gary Newman, District 3.
4. Twice with Thomas.
All right. So anyway, but this will come back and we're going to consider all the information we get from everybody. So what I want to tell you, and Kareem, if you want to go to the first slide, these are the old meters. About the 46,000 before we started, about a third of them look like this. Very digital looking, has a little computer inside, and it sends out a signal fairly continuously. And what would happen is our meter techs would drive down the streets and would collect the signals from these meters that they're transmitting and collect them into computers that were in the trucks. This is another little bit older meter. Some might call this an analog meter, it's more mechanical, but it had a computer put into it. It's on the top here. I'll pass this around so you can look at it if you're interested. And it also had a little antenna in this meter. And it too would send out a signal and would be collected by the meter tech. This meter, part of the metering infrastructure system that we put in, transmits its signal and information all the way back to our corporate headquarters on Illinois Street here. We don't have to send out meter techs to go read the meters. We can turn these meters on and off from the corporate headquarters. We can get information on an ongoing basis every 15 minutes. So if you want to know how much electricity you used in the past week, so you can monitor that, reduce your consumption or whatever, you'll have access to that type of information from this new meter. So that's the kind of the idea behind it. This is the newest generation of meters, so to speak. It's the newest technology. We're just moving up to the better technology. But there's some better things about this meter. One is it does tell us if the power's gone out. So 3 weeks ago, we had a notice in our dispatch center that 3 meters were out. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. And what happened then is they called out some linemen. They said, you need to go over here and see what's going on. They found a tree in the line. They got the tree out of the line, restored the power, and when folks came home from work, their power was back on. Before these meters have been put in, they would have had to come home from work, call us and say, I don't have power. And we would have then called the lineman from home, brought him out 2 or 3 hours later, 8, 9 o'clock at night, back on. So we are able to better control outages, respond to folks who are out of power, and give you better service.
Did not the turtle
We're
meter
also
do the
going to
same
be able
thing?
to.
Did not the
Mr.
turtle
Ripple,
meter?
would you
do the
please
same
not
thing?
interrupt at this point?
Well,
Mr. Ripple has been to every meeting. This is the fourth one.
Absolutely.
He's interrupted us at every one, and I would just ask that you be polite. And you
Because this gentleman has
make
been
comments
lying to our
anytime.
community and what's happening.
So anyway, this is the meter that we put in. This meter doesn't emit a signal continuously. It emits a signal about once every 15 minutes. In an hour, it emits signals for 36 seconds, so about 9 seconds every 15 minutes. That information gets its way back to our corporate headquarters, where we'll be able to also give that information back to you. So anyway, it rates less radio frequency than the old meters. And these meters rated between 4 and 16 times more than this new meter. Less signal, less radio frequency.
What frequency?
So we believe, and the analysis we had all done, and I understand people disagree with it sometimes, but we really felt we've got a better meter, less radio frequency, better information, better technology.
I never got to vote on it as a member.
You don't get to vote on a lot of things as a member, we understand that, but we're listening to you, and that's our purpose here tonight.
And you gonna do something about it?
Well, we're gonna listen to you.
And then,
We're gonna see.
So that's
But your
why
voice is gonna
they've
get
already
to be heard.
scheduled the meeting. The meeting is
Right.
to come in 2 months.
It's called a pop-up
So,
valve.
all right, so.
Just let off a little steam and then it'll go on.
All right, so anyway, that's the idea here, and so I got your complaint, you didn't get the vote on this, you thought it should have gone to a vote of the
that's why
members.
I'm a member, 3,600 a year I pay.
All right.
Does anybody
So,
vote count on anything?
we'll take that issue, you thought this should have gone to a vote of the
Yes, sir.
members. Anything else that Illinois does that should go to a vote of the members?
How much you're making?
What's that?
Over the close to $1 million that you're making and scamming by the different companies that you've co-owned and been able to finagle people into staying into. Like when the coal plant Healy's been worked on. What lodge is the name of that lodge that you co-own that you benefited from?
I don't know.
By pushing people to go stay there.
I
These
don't know any
contractors that
lodges
work
in Healy. So, anyway.
It's on your
again,
IRS
go on
forms,
to
you
the
can
next-
find it on the website.
That's the information on this meeting. I wanted to keep this presentation short and then hear from you. I've already heard from Mr. Ripple, I don't need to hear from him.
But these people do because you're
So we
lying.
took and did an analysis here of this meter and its impact. We took a look at different frequency that this meter would have, a 900 megahertz radio frequency and 1 yard away. And we've talked about this at other meetings, that you can actually go out and get a power meter to read it and see what it's doing, to see when it's on and when it's off. And you can compare the old meter. If some of you deferred, you could test your old meter and see what the radio frequency
I
is.
did find a man who will do that. Who will
Okay.
come out and measure our radioactive, whatever the waves.
Frequency, yeah.
Well-
So what we found,
Or that
and from the,
states.
from the data and information that we have,
Yeah.
that the radio frequency from Earth, it's naturally generated, is 8 times greater than this meter. That the radio cell towers is 10 times greater. The radio frequency that emanates from our bodies themselves is 20 times greater, and you can see the rest of the information. So the information we had is, one, it's a lot less radio frequency than the meters that you've had installed since 1998.
So when are you going to use updated science?
And then-
FCC science.
Excuse me?
The whole time.
We
New
just-
studies are coming out showing this is dangerous all the time.
Okay, so we'll talk about that, and you understand it's dangerous, and you're talking about a health danger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're using the FCC study there, but that's old data. New data is coming out all the time about danger.
Russ is just shutting
All right, so I hear that. Yes, sir.
Is that Corey, maybe, because a lot of the stuff in the program, if you might, I just ask please to give the courtesy to let them go through it. I think all these things can be addressed, but it's kind of breaking up the cadence, so.
Okay, well, thank you, but I understand people want to be heard, and that's why we're here, so. All right, we'll keep moving, get this, try to upbeat the cadence a little bit, so Crane is. All right, Now, part of our purpose of this is behind giving you as a member more power and control and information over your account. We've created a new My Account for you as a member portal, and it's going to allow you access to view and pay your bill, to review your usage history. Currently, you can see what you've used up till yesterday. I got to make sure, Green, it's very current
Yes.
usage. You know, there's other things that can come out, and other people that have these types of systems, they'll get a message from the utility saying, this week you've used so much power, we expect your monthly bill to be X, based upon your usage. So you can control and manage your usage. We want everyone to use their power as efficiently as possible. We're very concerned and we care about the environment, and we hear from a lot of other folks about this. So this is a tool you to manage your power, and we think you'll find it effective. So that's also part of the benefit of this in the green law. But we've also heard from folks that, well, we don't want this meter, we want to keep the old meter. And we know some folks who come from other utilities. I think he said, you California utility?
Southern California,
Yeah. And I was going to call you to ask which utility, because we'll call them and see how their program is.
Southern California Edison.
Southern, okay. We'll say, oh, well, if you don't want this AMI meter, we'll put the old analog meter back in that still radiates
Didn't
radio
radiate at all.
frequency.
I had no
And,
radiating device in my meter.
We'll put your old meter back in. And
Thank you.
That's all that people want.
And we said, all right, but you're gonna, if you do that,
Cost you.
when we do it, it's gonna cost, because it costs the
I pay
utilities.
$10 a month to have someone come out and read me every other
400
month.
here.
All right,
And that was it.
so we're listening to that, and we're gonna talk about it. But we've done a very basic calculation. We think it'll cost, we've had 200 people we've had 200 people out of 46,000 that have said we don't want this meter. So that's why these
How many people did you advertise this meeting to?
Yeah.
And how many people did you put the meter in at nighttime?
And we put it on
How many people
Facebook.
even know you got the meter on?
Everyone got a notice. Everyone got a card, and everyone got a phone call.
Return
Pretty funny, I
receipt?
posted
So-
it on Facebook and quite a few people didn't even receive the notice.
Channel 11 didn't even know you were here today.
So we've got 200 meters, folks. We did the analysis just to give you an idea, just a basic idea. We believe it'll cost $180,000 to $230,000 a year to maintain the old metering system. We have 2 metering systems. Just the software updates each year for this meter are $70,000. So in order to keep the meter going, and then to keep the employees' vehicle fuel to read the meters, keep them driving up and down the streets, the cost of regulation, because we have to go to the Regulatory Commission of Alaska to do this in order to allocate the cost. We think it's going to run for someone $75, $96 a month extra. There's 200 people that don't want it. It's 100 is more, and 50 is even greater. Somebody earlier today said, well, what if we convince 1,000 people to go to the old meters? So that would bring the cost down. Obviously in California, the cost was down enough that it came to $10 a month or $120.
I can convince my whole town of banana.
Okay.
So,
Who's got some other comments on it? Yes, sir.
Are you going to sell any of the data that you collect on these devices?
There's no data. By the way, that's a good point. The only
Who
data we
developed the
collect.
software that collects the data?
The only data that we collect is your gross electric usage. We don't know if electric usage is coming from a toaster or a dryer or any other type of appliance or your pumps. All we know is what usage is using. And it's just once every 15 minutes, so it's not a continuous thing. We will not sell that data to anyone else. And we've got a policy about being very protective of members' information.
How about the
Matter of fact,
health?
we don't even give out to law enforcement without a legal subpoena. So that's one question for you. Answer.
Thank you. Explain the difference between defer and opt out.
Defer was, we're going to say, we're not going to put the meter into your house at this time. We're going to come back to you after we've made a decision and see whether you're going to be able to pay extra to to have a meter, or whether we tell you in order to provide you electricity, you're gonna have to let us put the new meter on. So we deferred your decision making. Opt-out is a process like they did in California that said, if you opt out, then you can pay extra. And based upon the cost, just like they did in California, based on the actual cost, and we won't make that decision, by the way. That decision will be made by the Regulatory Commission of Alaska.
And you have a timetable about when that's gonna happen?
You know, I think the decision will be made sometime in the May meeting, after the annual meeting. We're gonna have an annual meeting of members, May 2nd. Thank you.
With us?
May 2nd. Yeah, you're a member? Are you a member, Belinda?
Doesn't everybody pays the bill?
Yes.
Okay.
Or
We
buy
got a lot of
something in
people
this
here
town.
that aren't members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we buy things in this town that are affected by the
So
energy
anyway,
rates.
yeah. All right, so we got a question back here.
Can I take just a few minutes?
Sure.
First of all, I'm a man that's lived in Fairbanks for 37 years this summer. And I started out renting a small cabin. Later on, I got a little more focus in life and got married, and that helped give me a lot of focus. And so I started building, and we had children, and wanted to provide more room and space. And like many families, we want to try to provide as comfortable of a family life as we can in our home that we consider to be our refuge. And over time, I've also been able to develop a business. I built a business and had that for 20 years now. We've made a lot of choices about things that we wanted to have in our home and choices that we didn't want to have in our home concerning devices. Microwaves, we decided we don't want to have a microwave in the house. When my wife was pregnant, we didn't want to have a microwave in the house because of radio frequency that might be out in the air, and she's walking by or standing there and things cooking. Would anybody disagree that there's been some science about this that said that there could be a danger to pregnant women and their undeveloped fetuses? Another thing is when cell phones began to become popular, I got one, and I had it for maybe a year and a half, and I started to read materials where people were expressing concerns that RF energy from cell phones being held next to the head could be a threat to the cellular tissue in your brain. And since then, there's been more information come out, and some claim that there's been incidents of tumors and cancer as a result of this RF energy in the head. So we got a wireless internet device many years ago from, I guess the first was ACS. And the device had an option on the side to plug an antenna. So I talked to a ACS tech. He told me it was whatever frequency it was. I found an antenna to match that frequency. We mounted it up in a place away from us, and I had the people down at NOAA, that's their background, make me an adapter that goes right to the device. So I understand that it's routing that through the wire and out of the antenna, and that the actual device isn't allowing the RF to emit out of it. It's just focusing and funneling it into that antenna. And so we've made those choices for our family. We said we don't want to have things, we have a lot of wiring. We have 3-phase transformers on the pole that are probably 75 feet from the house. There's been studies on the electromagnetism. This stuff is all around us. The thing that, another thing I should bring up too, I'm an amputee. For 46 years, I've been without my right leg. And I've suffered something that amputees and others with injuries have, which is phantom pains, ghost pains. Sometimes the pains have been so severe, it literally feels like someone's cutting it off again. Other times, it's like tormenting electrical sensation, like little coils of electricity. I could not know why this was. I went down to the university one day and asked a geophysicist if there was any connection with the radiation even from the sun. And he said, well, he didn't know of any with that, but he says that there has been with respect to cardiac issues, solar radiation from the sun. Now, so RF energy, whether it be from the sun or from devices, can have an effect on the human physiology and a very negative effect. And if they're close to us, they can have an amplified effect on us. I do not want to have this RF energy in my house. I don't want radio frequencies transmitting into my house. I don't want the 900 megahertz communicating with other houses and then back and then coming out of that unit in all directions. I don't want the lower frequency that supposedly can communicate with modern appliances transmitting. I don't want it. That's a choice I want to make for my house.
That's his God-given right. That's to protect
And this
his home.
is limiting the individual freedom that we have. See, I'm a man, and I have individual rights and freedoms. Now, yeah, I could say, okay, I guess I have to separate myself from you. That means my business, I'm not going to be able to operate it anymore. I have a machine shop. I do work, I repair for there's things going around town all over the place that's got my work on it. And as we're being choked off and being constrained to take on and adopt everything that's being pressed on us, whether it's because of, probably largely the profits that are involved, I just don't like it. I want to separate myself. But I got a family. So I don't want the smart meter. I don't have one on there. I guess I have a turtleback on my shop right now. And I've got the old analog meter, and it probably has the computer in it, like you said, that still transmits in RF, okay? My wife and I both experienced some similar issues with our health, and I wonder about what the cause of this is sometimes. So I've made some choices to try to, process of elimination, remove ourselves from exposure from some things. So I went onto online. I saw a fellow using an RF detector, and he showed the rise from a certain point up to a high peak, and then dropped for a period of time, and then rises and drops. It was a continual thing that went on. I have a question. If you had an RF energy detector here, and you had a live meter that was, let's just say, lights were going in a house, and then you, of both types of meters, there are the old analog type, the turtleback type, and then you put the RF detector on my body, what would be the differences? Would my body be emitting more than that meter? I want to see that. Show me a demonstration here.
Let's just think, we'll have to get one of those meters for our annual meeting and come down, we'll give it a try.
And in that meter, he's supplied with an adapter to run it down a few hundred feet away to put on a pole over there so that there's no RF energy that's transmitting. And can we disable that low frequency transmitter in there so we don't have to use that? Since the one you're concerned about getting information back to your utility is the higher frequency one, and the low one just has to do with monitoring or interacting with some of the modern appliances such as a hot water heater. That one, let's just say we want to opt out of that. We don't want that. Disable that low frequency one. The higher one, if we decided we would accept this, which I don't want it, but if we decided, can you supply an antenna out there a few hundred feet away so that there's zero RF energy detected with a meter spanning 1 meter away from the thing?
We'll look at that. And
That's a very good
appreciate the
idea.
suggestion on that.
That's a good
We have talked previously that this meter could be located, the whole meter and everything, we put in the way back in your yard, far away from your home.
Or the kids playing.
Well, whether you comment about whether you just wanted the antenna put way back, but it's possible the whole meter could be.
How about my family that's sleeping 30 feet?
That's a great idea.
30 feet from 12 meters at a
And
condo.
what we said
Those
is
people
that,
are being
You
irradiated.
come to our new construction folks, no cost, they'll take a look at your property, they can pull it up on the maps, they can look at where you might be able to locate a pole, far away, you can do the analysis and thinking about it, we can tell you how we can serve it, to make sure it meets electrical code. That is an easy option, probably cheaper than something like this. But that solves some people's problems, not everybody's. This meter, with the information and what we've got in it, does not communicate with your hot water heater or your dishwasher or anything else. We don't know what's drawing the electrical
different, like you pointed out, with the thermostat. Some cities in the lower 48, the utility works to monitor the thermostat, air conditioning use and that sort of thing. So this one has the capability, but as we purchased the system, we bought it with it disabled because.
So how hard is it to install the software? It's just somebody on another computer somewhere saying, turn it on, right? It's a software package.
It's something that is built into these meters when you buy them.
So it has the capability of spying on everything that has a computer chip within your home, although quote unquote, the ones right now, you don't have that installed on there, but you're not the final controller of this.
Okay, so
That's
hold on.
very
Let me-
good. That's a very good point.
Well, Dan, you need to.
It's designed to talk to specific devices that are programmed to communicate to it from the Zigbee internet.
So now you're finally admitting on the record that it's communicating. This is the first time this has been mentioned, people. In 4 meetings, this is the first time this gentleman has
All right, so
admitted this.
so right here, and then we'll come back over to you. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I could say, I think we all would like to believe that this information is correct and it's honest. It's a good point that it's very old information, and there's a lot of information out there. If you do your research, and if you have health issues, and I imagine the 200 holdouts or whatever it is, whatever the number is, have health issues that are concerned about this, and that's a reasonable concern. We all would like to believe, I think, that this is a right and good thing, that it would be good for us, it would be good for the co-op. That's a reasonable expectation. I've been here for 45 years, and I love Golden Valley. It's always been a good little utility. It's taken good care of me. However, over the decades, I've seen some unfortunate decisions made by our leaders, and it has cost us over the years. And if you've been here for any length of time, I'm sure that you will probably remember some of the decisions that have cost us over the years. And so I have no interest in being difficult or making your life miserable, but I have health concerns, and I have done a lot of research, and the culture that we live in these days, everybody lies. And that's a real problem if you have health issues and concerns. And because corporate profits and government overreach has reached such a level of such overwhelming proportions, you're kind of foolish not to ask questions, not to be concerned, and to be too believing, too willing to take things at face value is really kind of foolish in our world. And I think you all are good people, and I would like to believe that all of this is true, but if it makes my health worse, and some of us have struggled with health issues for many years. I've achieved a measure of better health by doing a lot of research, asking a lot of questions, and thinking for myself. And so I'm grateful to be able to say that my health has improved to a point. However, if this is what I think it could possibly be, and it's going to make my health worse, of course I'm going to take advantage of his generous offer to tell you how we feel about this. And like I said, because everybody lies anymore, and I know that this information is quite old, and we would like to believe that these meters are going to be a better option, but there's no way for us to know because everybody lies. I'm not saying that you are lying. I'm saying that you are probably going with the information that you have been given, but that's not very reassuring if you've got health issues. And it is, once the decisions are made and trying to go back and fix things, it's too late. You know what I'm saying?
I understand that. I appreciate very much your comments. Yes, over here.
Who developed the software that these smart meters are using?
I'm sorry.
Who developed the software that these smart meters are using?
It was a company called Silver Springs. Silver Springs Networks.
That would be Al Gore's company, the one that's pushing climate change.
So, is it?
It's true. It's
So
true.
does GVEA own the data, or is it proprietary to the people who own the software?
We own the data, and the data only comes to us, to our computers, and to our corporate headquarters. It doesn't go to anybody else.
So then you own the software that runs the smart meter?
Well, do we buy the software?
You mean we?
Or do we lease it?
When we purchase the meter, the software is part of the meter.
So we own the software, but there will be cost to maintain software, like anyone that buys Windows or Microsoft Office, you update it every once in a while.
Could you publish the terms and conditions of this contract that you have made on our behalf for all the members to widely and openly investigate before you finish pushing this?
Okay, I want to see that.
We want to know the deal you made behind our backs.
Without us voting.
What type of encryption is used in the software?
The encryption on the software.
It has different levels of encryption from the meter, right from the meter back to the first, say, relay or AP. It uses AES 256-bit encryption. And then from the collection point back to the utility office, which goes over. It's all a private little validated system, but that uses an IPsec VPN tunnel. It has encryption keys that nobody has access to. The meter company that sells this doesn't have access to any of the software keys. For us at Golden Valley to get access to the encryption, it requires 2 people with authentication cards to log into a computer to make any changes.
So is this better than Equifax or Target or MasterCard where all the information has been stolen?
Or Google.
Or Google, or I would say no.
We can just, all right, questions?
Go ahead. You have talked a lot. It's your turn.
All right, you get one question, Lionel.
Yeah, well, we're all familiar with these smart phones that are packed around here, and the great capacity of capabilities that it can do. And it's kind of like, can't get lost in this world with one of those because somebody's watching it all the time. They hear everything you say. Where does that go? Is that somewhat similar to the type of computer that you're finding there? You don't really know, do you? But it would be probably something even more sophisticated than computers, cell phones, in fact, smartphones. And they've exposed everything about you. And
Is there a question? I guess your question is the smartphone,
what
encryption
are
is
you
different
selling
than
that you
our
don't
encryption?
know about? What are you selling?
We do not sell data at Golden Valley in any way, shape, or
But you
form.
see, you
Whether it's on a piece of paper or whether it's electronic.
The local people that have these cell phones, they say they have control over them, but they don't.
What's the connection with Alaska Net and GVEA? And Jeffrey Yanni, that y'all were paying $750,000 even when he wasn't an employee up until just recently? Could you explain that connection and how the cell phone networks and the privacy networks that they're running and GVEA is putting up here? Could you explain how y'all mesh still?
Alaska Net was a data center company that Golden Valley started back in a period of time when the electric utilities were being deregulated and the information was you need to go out there and make sure that you're going to be a viable entity going into the future. We created Alaska Net. It prospered. It did very well as a data center company. And they had a few other lines of business. And we sold Alaska Net to the Massachusetts Telephone Association about 3 years ago. So we have no connection now with Alaska Net, although they do provide us some services.
So does it have to do with the smart meter services?
No, none at all.
What about with interior electric generation and transmission electric?
The servers for the AMI meters and the information is on different servers than those hosted by Alaska Net. So was there a question here or no? Or you, sir?
Yeah, I was trying to process it a little more. You go on and have it here in a minute.
Okay. meter exploding, then that would be one where you'd say, let's put it on a pole way in the back of the yard. Everyone's got ways, we are very respectful of your concerns.
Do you know of
We
any
wanna help
cases
you
of
find
the
the
meter
best way
catching
to
fire? Is what
come
she's trying to
to
get
a-
at, and you're diverting and not answering her question.
Let him finish.
He's not
We're
answering
very
the
interested
question.
in helping you find a bridge or some way where we can both make this work. So if your concern is about a fire hazard from these meters, then you can mitigate that by having it on a pole far away from any structure. Also then, the radio frequency, which is less than the meter that's right now, you have your meter on your house or on a pole?
It's across my driveway.
On a pole?
I think so, yeah.
So meters on the pole across the driveway. Maybe that's far enough away, this new meter
But
won't
if it
harm
blew up, it would
anything.
catch the trees on fire, and then they would.
So maybe you want your pole even further away.
How many cases of fires are
And
you
you're willing to
aware of?
help us with that?
We would help you design it. Most likely would not help you pay for the cost of doing it, but we would help you design it so you would know what it would take before you made a decision.
So is he allowed to protect his family then from this? Like he said, he wants to protect his home. God gave him that authority. Are you going to respect his decision on that? And opt
We
him
will
out?
help, what I said is we really want to build bridges with everybody and try to find a way to make it work. But there's limitations from everyone that provides services.
Yeah.
So that, there are some limitations, and I'm not making promises tonight.
Can she opt out?
I want to tell you, we're getting information here so we can make a decision.
Can the people say no?
Yeah,
I couldn't.
you're a special case.
No,
We
he's
really
not.
tried- We really tried to work with you, and I'm not going to.
He's been here longer than you have.
All right, so anyway, do you have another question?
I've had power for 50 years, and you cut me off with
So,
nothing that I did wrong.
I just kind of feel like it's gonna be easier for you guys to let us opt out than to face legal course, because there's been numerous legal action taken against power companies all over the lower 48, and it's been ruled in favor of the consumer to opt out. Are you saying that it's gonna be so much easier for you guys to let us opt out, or are you, because you're gonna have a fight on your hands, and this is really, we're not a minority here when we say people move to Alaska to stay off-grid, to stay healthy. I tell people I'm a California refugee, but the only thing that they had going for them was that I was allowed to opt out of this crap meter.
There are other states that have just decided you can't opt out. What was that state? Was it
Kansas.
Kansas.
And there was a country that just shut down and said no 5G and is dismantling
But
their
it
entire
doesn't matter what Kansas does.
Brussels.
But
California
there's
does.
more states that have had legal recourse where they opted for the
Because they have a lot of
consumer
money.
than for the power company.
Well, and you will have an ability to go to the Regulatory Commission of Alaska as well, or you can go to the courts.
We own this corporation.
Oh, we're members. Why can't I
This
say
is
I'm
our
members?
company in our town. We don't listen to other people over there. That's only when we're gonna ship power somewhere else. We own this place. This is ours.
You said you're from the NAMA.
Yes, sir.
Do you vote for your mayor?
Yes, sir. No, I don't. I'm outside of the city limits.
So you don't get to vote on who makes the rules and the regulations?
I have no borough and no.
Right. So you vote for everyone has rights.
She's trying to make you a citizen.
But you don't, those rights don't always give you the right to make all decisions. And I don't need to give you a civics lesson, but I appreciate that as an electric co-op, that you are a member owner, but it doesn't mean we have to take to you a vote of whether we use Aclara meters or GE meters, or whether we use Ford trucks or Dodge trucks. But we're trying to listen to,
That's my family.
we're trying to listen to your concerns here.
Yeah, but I don't want you to listen, I want you to act.
I understand. Well, you might not like the way we act.
Well,
And that's why we're here telling you no.
So-
And you're a liar and you're a crook.
I don't, so.
That's what we're
and-
telling
and
you.
government-
Respect. Let's keep this civil, please. I'm not saying.
He wants to poison my family. Why am I?
Absolutely. If you don't, you can ride the fence, man.
That's premeditated murder.
You voted on Apple too, sir, because you're part of this.
Are you part of Golden Valley
Yes.
there?
Me?
The guy sneaking
All
out.
right, so
I'm an energy economist. I don't work,
Energy what?
economist, I don't work for Golden Valley at all.
Now, what's your stake in the game?
I vaccinate my children.
Sorry.
I have fluoride in my water. I have concerns about the.
You don't have fluoride in your water, cut it out of the water.
Different topic.
I measles when I was 2. Good and bad.
And I appreciate,
But I'm just saying
it's
that-
all about respect and listening.
But you're not respecting our
You're not
community.
respecting me.
You're not respecting any of us. You're lying to everybody, and you're hurting our kids, man.
Get your hand up
I just
here.
wanted to, well, first I wanted to reemphasize that I don't want the smart meter on there. I want to be able to, for my family's protection, make choices about what my family is exposed to in my house. So I believe in representative government, okay? You touched on that, for instance, pure democracy, the people vote on everything that's out there. Basically, the whole mass of the population votes. And that's a democracy. I mean, that's a pure democracy. So in a representative form of government, we have those that we elect in our government. And we choose leaders that we feel are going to represent us. They don't always do that, but we realize that we're leaving into their hands some of the decisions. But we can also petition them for a redress of our grievances. Now, when it comes to things, when they make decisions about us that intrudes into our individual families, things that we want to expose them to, as we're talking about here. So you can make a decision to, use a bigger gauge cable in certain instances, running on, your main line or something. But when it comes to emitting RF energy, radio frequency that is going to come into the house and expose the family, so you're intruding personally. And so this is the area where we have a big problem. We don't want to be affected by this RF energy because we believe that there are many studies that have been done with lab animals where it's had deleterious, if that's the right word, effects on human tissue, lab animal tissue, which could go to the humans too. So, once again, we don't want them. If we need to raise 1,000 people to lower the price for us to have some kind of a technology that we feel more comfortable with, well, we'll have to do that. We'll have to, get the initiative going and do it. But if there were smart meters and there was absolutely zero emissions of RF energy that were going to be coming towards our house, inside of our house, exposure to our family, and we don't want any communication between the low frequency device and any of our inside equipment. We don't want that. That would have to be proven that that's totally disabled. And the transmission has to be somewhere away from where we live. I would want to have that. And so, but I also want you to display and show with some kind of metering equipment, maybe we have an independent person too, that shows the the RF energy coming out of a person, comes out of a meter, comes out of a computer, whatever. And, prove your point. I've got some documentation here that refutes some of the claims by people promoting this, saying, well, they say that the emissions are low, but, et cetera, et cetera. And I can read that to you right now, if you'd like me to. You ask for questions.
People want to ask for questions, but depending on time and what other people want to hear, this woman's got a question, and then all the way in the back. First right there.
I have another concern. I love my town. As I'm sure you know, Fairbanksons are fiercely independent and loyal, and we love our little town. So it's a great place to live. I'm grateful to be able to live here. It's a privilege, in my opinion. And I love my co-op. You all have taken good care of us for a lot of years. And so there's also a concern for me that this new technology, cell phone companies have lied to us for decades about the dangers of cell phones to our children, our brains, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fairly well known these days, fairly common.
longer. If research starts to surface and people realize that this is hurting people's health and class action lawsuits become the rule of the day, is our little co-op going to be able to survive if we are embroiled in such things? I don't want to see that happen either. We need our co-op.
Thank you. We have a question all the way in the back.
Mine was more of a comment so much than a question, but the information that was sent out under the initial picture, it had 3 sources that you cited. One was I'm not sure on the initials, but EPRI, which is the Electric Something Association. Another one was the UTI, which is also the Utilities Telecom Association, and then others. So those were the sources that said there was no ill health effects. But I wonder, how come no health professionals were the ones that were studied, or why weren't any of those studies brought about? Because if we give one side of the story, that of course these utilities companies have an agenda. They need to get this smart meter out there. They need to make it, to get this flowing. So of course citing your own people is a way to make it positive. So where's the other side of that?
All right, I appreciate that. We'll see if we can't rectify it. The gentleman over here, then I'll come back to you.
Thank you for having the meetings.
Yes.
And thank you for board members being here. Appreciate that. I think that shows other faith effort and that you have admin as well as folks who are represented. So I'm not an electrician by any means. I'm mostly concerned personally about the health. The numbers are concerning because if you have 148K meters and you're spreading even 230K of an additional, I've not seen how it could even come close to costing everybody another $96. That's something that we could take a look at spreadsheets and such. I guess when it comes to the equipment and the Alcera meter in particular, that's kind of where I'm a little concerned, and probably not for the reasons that most people would think. So, from what I understand, Jerry and I've talked up on the ivory tower with the electric engineer, and then also information from another electrician in the field for 30 years. From what I understand is the Alceras are more or less disposable 5 to 7 years. There's no surge suppression strips. And so with lightning and transformer feedback, there is the possibility of fire. They're not very robust and finicky. My main concern is that's under normal conditions from what I understand from other states, but when we get into the Arctic, and especially when we're getting frozen temperatures, I have no idea if there's been work that's been done to see whether our conditions exacerbate or possibly actually improve the situation.